Hi everyone, I am sorry it has been a while since I have filmed. You leave the... Again, I apologize, it has been a while since I have filmed. Let me give you a little bit of a life update and then we'll go into my January wrap up and a channel update. So, life update. I am currently doing physical therapy to strengthen my core for my back. That is going well, my movement is better. Pain is not. I don't expect the pain to get any better. That's just what happens when you have arthritis, chronic pain issues due to arthritis and inflammation and a whole bunch of other stuff with my back. All started from like 7th or 8th grade when they found that I had scoliosis and then the spinal surgery and all of that for the spinal fusion. In the month of January, I had a migraine that lasted about a week. It wasn't the worst pain I've ever had, but it was definitely a migraine. I also had some days where sensory-wise with my autism, I was just a little oversensitive. Migraines definitely amplify that sensitivity, which really sucks, but it is what it is. My mom and I have been trying to make a certain decision, and that decision has been reached. So let me tell you what that decision is, because it is going to affect my channel going forward a little bit. The decision is we will be moving. Right now, I do live with my mom. I don't make enough to support myself on my own. So I help my mom around the house and things like that. So, and it's just her anyway. She is not remarried since my mom and dad divorced when I was like 9 years old. She has not remarried. Molly says hi. So it's just us. And as she is getting older, as with older people, she is at more of a fall risk. She is 64. She's 63. She will be 64. So she's always been a little bit of a klutz. She admits that. We laugh about it. She has had a couple of falls, nothing serious. I am not supposed to lift anything more than 25 to 30 pounds, depending on how things are positioned because of my back. And then there's Georgie. So when she has fallen, and it's just us, we have to call for help to get her up. So we've had to call for help from emergency services to help get her up because she can't put weight on her knees due to having her knee surgery and things like that. So we've had to have some help. And that's been when no neighbors have been home. So we've had to deal with that, which is fine. We have decided to move. Right now we live in Utah. And we have decided to move to Colorado to be closer to a family, which will be beneficial to me because I do have a good relationship with my cousins and hopefully I can strengthen that. And then when she dies, hopefully before me, which is, all parents hope that they go before their children, or at least most do anyway. There are a few, of course, outliers that aren't so great, but she, of course, wants to die before me. She would like to be buried next to her mom, who is my grandma, which is buried in Colorado. So we're going to have to deal with that. You cannot eat this yarn, baby, and you know that. No. No, no. No, no, no. And it would be beneficial for me to strengthen my relationship even more with these cousins than it already is, so that as I get older, and at this point I am 42, what are the chances of me meeting someone and getting married? I don't know. I just don't know. It's still a chance, but the older I get, the less likely it is. I'm just trying to be realistic, not pessimism. There's still always a chance it could happen. And can adopt kids, or if I can't have kids, and being high risk pregnancy as you get older and all of that. So we'll see, but it'd be good, logistically speaking, to be closer physically and having a bigger emotional connection to my cousins so that as I age, and then it's no longer safe for me to live on my own to being a fall risk, increased fall risk, or needing help financially, medically, whatever, then my cousins can step in and make certain medical decisions for me, or at least my second or third cousins as we get close to the generation. Georgie's gonna dig. So, anyway, so we're moving to be closer to family. We miss them. It's just my mom and I here in Utah, and so both of my mom has two sisters, so I have two aunts. They both live in Colorado. One lives in a big city in Colorado, one in a small city, and we want to go to a small town. So we're going to go because we're going to go from like a big rural, is that the right word? We're not in the big, like Salt Lake City is this huge city. We're in one of the major outlying cities, so we're not in the biggest city in Utah, but we're in one of the big outlying cities. And so we're actually going to go to a smaller town. We are going to go either to the town that my mom grew up in, which is a fairly small town, but it is big tourist town, or we're going to go to a smaller town that's about 20 minutes outside of the town that she grew up in, which is where most of my family is right now. And it actually makes more sense to go to the smaller town, not the one that my mom grew up in, because if we're able to get the like one level house that we want, or single level house, it would be like between 500 and 700,000 house in this one small town. If we were to get the same square footage and same layout in the town that my mom grew up in, we're looking at probably 800,000 to $1 million, depending on where exactly in the town it's positioned. So it's a lot more expensive to live in this small town that my mom grew up in now, because it's such a big tourist place. It's more expensive. It's like if you compare living in not major downtown Salt Lake City, but kind of on the outskirts of Salt Lake City, and I'm sure many of you know of Park City. That's kind of the difference. So Park City, it's going to be much more expensive to live in because it's a big tourist town. And in this case, in this tourist town, a lot of celebrities have gone to, of course we know, so that just kind of hypes up the prices even more. So we're not planning on it as much as we would like to be in the heart of the small town that she grew up in. More than likely, financially, that's not going to happen. So with my health and the prospect of moving, could be this, which we're planning on moving this year, hopefully by the end of fall. So by the end of, ideally, September, October of 2026, so this year, we've got to go through all of our stuff and see what we're going to go ahead and donate, what we're going to try and sell, because we're going to go from this house that we're in to a smaller single level house. So we need to see what we can sell, what we can, it's like, we're not going to want this anymore. We don't need it anymore. Let it have a new life with someone else, whether that's through us making some money to help towards moving expenses or donate. So like we have a sofa and a love seat that we're thinking about selling. So we'll go to like a local station here in Utah and try to sell that, is what we're thinking of doing that. And then there's like, I have a little chest of drawers. It's like 3 drawers, and I've had it since I was like itty bitty. Like I'm talking 5 years old or younger. It was like my very first dresser. So it is small, but it is starting to actually mold. And so we actually just need to clear that out and get rid of it because it is starting to mold. So it is that old. So, and we think it has a little bit of water damage on it anyway. So we've got a couple things to sort through. And then when it comes to me and my books, I am going to be very strict. And for example, as much as I would love to hold on to the Fear Street books and collect them, it's just not, it doesn't hold the same nostalgic feel. And I think because there are some things that are starting to bug me with them, which is a lot. And you got to remember, most of, like the original Fear Street books were written in the early 1990s. There's quite a bit of fat phobia in there. I also don't like that R.L. Stine throws in animal cruelty or animal death just for shock value. That does happen with horror. I don't like it. But with reading these Fear Street books, I don't see the point of it in some of these. So I think I'm going to go ahead and haul them. Now, I am going to try to read as many of them as I can before I move. And then I will either take them to little free libraries so people can have access to them for free, or to a thrift store. One of the two places they're going to go. I will always hold a special place in my heart for the original Fear Street series by R.L. Stine, because those are the ones that started to get me into reading, with developing my own reading taste to find what I liked in books and stuff. So I am going to go ahead and start letting those go and find some homes, and hopefully they'll get other people who are around the target range, hopefully. If not, that's fine, but hopefully start getting some people into reading and helping to develop their own taste. Georgie's going to take a nap. So with moving and having to start clear out things, deciding what we're going to donate, what we're going to sell, with having random days where I'm going to get migraines, I'm going to have inflammation with my back and having pain, I cannot commit to a filming schedule. The other thing is I have an Etsy shop. I will always have that linked in, at least moving forward, in the description box. Right now I have 4 things on there. There's a readathon that I am participating in that's a team-based readathon, and I told the host and creator of the readathon, who is Kim from Expedition Through Pages. I will link her channel in the description box, so you can go to her channel and sign up if you want to participate. This is a monthly team-based challenge. Kim has created 4 teams. Team Dryads, which are, according to folklore from the limited research I have done, think of the Lorax from Disney's The Lorax or Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. They are protectors of the forest. They live in trees. When the tree dies, they die, type of a thing. So they live in trees. They protect the forest. That is the mythology around the Dryad that I was able to decipher. So I have found a crochet pattern for the Dryad. There is also Team Satyr. Woohoo! Go Team Satyrs. That's what I am on. Captain for my team is Amy from A Star Reads. I will link her channel in the description box as well. Hopefully, if you decide to join up on Kim's game, you will be sorted onto the best team ever. Go Team Satyrs. Amy is co-captain with her cousin Jordan. Both are very, very awesome people. Very strong individuals, awesome people, empowering people. Highly recommend checking Amy's channel out. I don't think Jordan has a channel, if I remember right. I don't think she does. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll at least have Kim and Amy's channel. So I've found a crochet pattern for a satyr, which is half goat, half man. There's also Team Pirates, and I've found a crochet pattern for the pirates and did that. And then the 4th team is the gnomes. And so I have a crochet gnome on my Etsy shop as well. So I have had some orders come in for people to support their team, have their own little team mascot when they play and read and stuff. So whenever an Etsy order comes in, that will take priority over filming as well. I am on limited income with disability, and I'm not making money on YouTube. Hopefully someday I will, but for right now, Etsy is the next likely outside of disability, which that could end at any point. But right now, I just can't. I have to rotate. I'm like a rotisserie chicken. I got to rotate. I can't sit for longer than a certain amount of time. And even then I have to change chairs and stuff because that's just how my back is. And then I have to go from sitting to laying down and kind of do for an hour versus so things like that. So like with filming, I would like to do some batch filming today. So what'll happen is I'll film and then I'll have to go lay down and read or watch some TV or do something. And then I can come back an hour later and film something else. And then I have to go lay down again. That's how my life is. So it does prevent me, because I have to rotate like that, to prevent myself from becoming in debilitating pain. I have to rotate. If I sit for 8 hours, even if I go down to 4 hours to do part-time, which I was going to try to do that, the pain is so debilitating, like I can't not stand up straight. So disability is the best thing for me to prevent, so I can have at least a little bit normal of a life. Anyway, so if and when Etsy orders come in, those take priority fulfilling those orders because they are made to fulfill, which means when the order comes in, then I make the product and then ship it out. So when those orders come in, that takes priority over reading. I'll crochet for a little bit, and then to prevent tendonitis and arthritis in my wrists and hands, I'll crochet for a bit and then I'll read. And so I'll just kind of rotate through activities as far as that goes. But Etsy orders take priority over YouTube filming. So, yeah. And I just don't know on days where, if I have a migraine, days that I have physical therapy, I am not going to want to film when I have physical therapy. So taking care of my physical health, my mental health. Mentally, I have had days where I've really struggled, and that's because of and I'm going to swear, the shit show that is in America right now, with all the political upheaval and everything. It's been depressing. It has been overwhelming, and I've had to take breathers from things. And that when I get in that funk because of how things are right now, I haven't wanted to film either. So I don't want to burn myself out. I don't want to push myself so bad mentally that it gets real bad. So I am prioritizing this year in 2026 my physical health and my mental health as well, and not push myself to like a breaking point physically and mentally, which is good. And I would want that for everyone. Whether you have a YouTube channel or not, take care of yourself physically and mentally, emotionally first, and then do this other stuff when you can. So I cannot commit to a filming schedule. It just depends on how I'm feeling physically, emotionally, mentally. And with my mom and I moving, if we're doing a lot of stuff in the house, it's going to take a bigger toll on me physically, which means I'm not going to be filming. So it just kind of depends. I have tried to do a couple of vlogs. I have started 5 or 6 vlogs at least. I have deleted all of them because I did not like any of the stuff that I have filmed. I did not like how I was speaking because I just emotionally and mentally was not feeling it. So I was trying to force myself to do that, and that was at the end of 2025. I was trying to force myself to do a certain vlog in December. I just couldn't bring myself to finish it. So I might try and pick up the camera to film. I love watching people's vlogs. And I know that there are a lot of people that love watching vlogs. So I may try to pick it up every now and then. So I don't know if it would be something like a month long. Now we're halfway through February already. So I don't know if it's going to be like a month long and then I end up only filming 3 days in the month. I don't know. I don't even know if it'll fully happen. I would like to. I don't know. I can't promise. I tried to promise it and things just went down. So it just depends. So let me kind of show you. So I can't commit to a schedule. Let me tell you so that's the big news with my channel moving forward. I can't commit to a schedule. I did do a January TBR. I'm still planning on doing TBRs. However, the frequency will decrease. And let me show you. That is because, let me grab one of my many, many notebooks. I have a bag here full of notebooks. This notebook, no, not this one. This is one of my many notebooks. I have this bag full of notebooks. Let me grab the right notebook. I do need this notebook, I think. No, is it the next one? It is this next one. Okay. Where is my monthly notebook? Here it is. My everything hurts notebook. This one I have in here. I have a couple of monthly TBRs. So for example, there's a TBR-a-thon, which is hosted by Leandra from Leandra the TBR Zero. I'll link Leandra's channel in the description box. This one is more of a yearly one, but I do have the start of this notebook. I have from like the TBR Explorer, I have 2 prompts left for that one. For the setting, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more I want to do for that. So there's a couple of them that I want to do for that. So in addition to that one, in the month of January, I have also listed, there's a readathon going on called the Epistolary. Now we're no longer in January, but I'm still going to try to fulfill in 2026 the Epistolary readathon, which again took place only in January. So I'm just kind of doing it on my own time. This is co-hosted by Janae Reads, Annie from In Search of Wonder, Jen's Reading Life, Candlewick Library, and Kelly Reads a Lot. So I'll link them in the description box as well because I'm mentioning them here. So I have not yet fulfilled any of the prompts for the Epistolary. There's 7 prompts. So, well, technically there's 6 and 1 bonus one. I have written down, I don't know how many readathons. I have 3 of these notebooks full. Now, not only one of these notebooks. About half of this notebook is readathons. The other half is my own stuff I want to track, like pages, hours read, things like that. I have completed, we're halfway through February, I have completed 4 readathons. So I need to do those wrap ups. So I'm planning on doing TBRs, but, the point of this, I also have, my January Catwalk TBR game that I played, okay? I have all of the prompts written down that I got. I ended up with how many books? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 books for the month of January. I have read that plus some, but not all of them were from my January TBR. as of right now, I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've read 7 out of my January TBR books. I want to read all of them, especially when I'm going to be moving. This way I can prioritize those, and then if I go, you know what, I'm not going to read it, I can take it to a little free library or a thrift store. So rather than putting them back on my shelves, I kind of want to prioritize the ones that grab my attention first, so that those are the ones that are most on the chopping block to be coming unhauled for when we move to Colorado. So I will not be doing a new Catwalk TBR until I have read every single book on here. So January, even though I have it on the channel as the January 2026 Catwalk TBR game or something like that, moving forward it'll be 2026 TBR number 2. TBR number 3, and I may end up filming them in the middle of the month. It just depends on when I finish all of these books. The other thing, I want to prioritize any new incoming books that I acquire during the month. So that has slowed down reading through my TBR a little bit more. So I can make sure my money is going to, so that I know I'm buying what I like and want to hold on to. Okay. For example, not spending more money on buying the Fear Street and collecting the Fear Street books. I'm buying books that I want on my shelf for years and years and years to come, for books that I will more than likely reread a lot. If I reread any Fear Street books, I'll just get them from the library. So it's just on the ones that I like, trophy books that I want on my shelves that I want my own physical copy of. I hope all that makes sense. So I have how many like single subject notebooks? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of these notebooks. Not all of them are full. Like, for example, I have a little less than half of this notebook left to fill in for what I want to, any readathons that pop up for March, April, May, etc. Or when I do finally get to fill my second TBR for the month, for the year, it'll go in this notebook or another one. I have one that's dedicated specifically for like the one that G created. So G from Book Roast, I'll list her channel in the description box. She was not doing this year a new year-long Ventures in Aldea or Aldea, I don't remember how to say it, but she's not doing that again this year. But there are people that are on her Discord, Magical Discord channel, that have reworded some of the prompts to have the readathon that happened last year occur this year. So I have one notebook dedicated specifically for that, and that is in there. And then if and when G continues to do the magical readathon for the spring equinox, the fall equinox, then those will go in that one notebook as well. So the other things I am tracking again are, I have series that I'm going through. I'm also wanting to prioritize some of my series, see what I'm wanting to continue to do, what states. I have yet to read a book from Maryland. I'm reading a fantasy, which isn't going to cover any of the United States. I'm trying to keep track of, like right now, it's February 14th when I'm filming this. I've read 7 books where the author does not reside in the United States. So just something I thought would be interesting. And I've read 3 books that have been translated, 1 from Portuguese and 2 from French. So that's just a little snippet. So this is stuff that I would like to go over stat-wise, because I do like watching stat videos. And I find them very interesting. So those are things that I would... So anyway, I like watching the stat videos. My mom just came home from running an errand with some friends. So I lost my train of thought, but I'm wanting to watch some of the stats as I read throughout the year. I want to read only translated or only, or emphasize that more. If the book sounds good, that's what I'm going to get. I'm not paying attention to the gender, the ethnicity, or anything like that, where the author is from, at least this year. Maybe next year that'll change, but this year I'm just trying to focus on what I want to keep on my shelves, what I'm going to let go of, again, due to the move and going into a smaller home. So space-wise, and as far as bringing in the books, getting the books that sound especially intriguing to me. So as books come in, I want to prioritize the ones that I am acquiring more so than the older ones, just to make sure I'm spending my money wisely. Okay. All right. So those are the channel updates. Now, I have in my notebook, or one of my notebooks, 3 columns: pages, hours, and stars. So I have read for the month of January a total of 19 books. That is, let me grab my calculator. I have read 4,819 books for the month of January. January has, was it 30 or 31 days? 31 days. So 4,819 divided by 31, that works out to about 156 pages per day read from the stack that I have here and we'll be going through. I have listened, audiobooks on regular one-time speed was 108.20 hours. I listen at 2.5 times speed when I'm reading along. If I'm only listening, it bumps down to 1.5 to 2 times speed, but every book I have listened to audibly, I have listened to while I have read it physically. So at the 2.5 times speed, that worked out to be 43.50 hours. So almost 44 hours of listening to audiobooks. For the stars, I did not write down how many stars. Let's see, I have some 4s, some 3s, some 5s. Let's see, 3s, 4s. Nothing less than a 3 star. So it was a really good reading month. So I have issued a total out of the 19 books, 75 stars were issued. So 75 stars divided by 19 books, that worked out to a 3.9 star average per book. And I have started, so those are my stats for January. For February, I've already read 7 books. I am currently working on book number 8 for the month of February, which I am currently reading Bartimaeus by Jonathan Stroud. The reason I picked this one is there is a readathon where this is one of the monthly book club selections. And I have now pre-ordered, I'm only 34 pages in, but I can tell from the writing I'm going to like this book. So I have pre-ordered the prequel story to this book. So that should be arriving any day so that when I want to continue this series, I will do the prequel story and then I'll continue on sequentially after that. So I'm reading this one. The reason I picked this one is for Kayla. I'll list Kayla's channel, Books and Lala. Is it February? Let me grab my notebook that does have the February. So that at least starts with the yearly January prompts. It's her Buzz cover. Oh, wrong notebook. Let's see, Buzz cover. Oh, no, this is for July, not February. So I have read, I'm just trying to prioritize these year-long readathons. So one of the wrap-ups I'm going to do is Buzzword. I've already completed the Buzzword. I've read all 12 prompts. I fulfilled all 12. For the Buzz cover from Kayla, I have completed 6. So this will work for July's prompt. So if anyone's looking for July, the prompt for July is a metallic element. So something that indicates gold, silver, copper, something like that. He's holding a medallion or an amulet. That's the word. This is the amulet of Samarkand. So he's like a demon, and he had to go get this for someone, and he's holding a gold amulet. So this indicates gold. So this will work for July for Kayla's July prompt, a metallic element. And I have fulfilled the other 6. So January through June I have fulfilled, and these ones I have required myself to do in order. So for example, the prompt for August is damage. So this is a book that has some kind of damage element that's a part of the design on the cover. And Kayla, you can find Kayla's channel and it describes it in a little bit more detail what she's kind of expecting. I have a book that I've picked for that where it looks kind of like a VHS tape that's just worn around the edges. So that would work for damaged. So that is what I'm going to read for August. It is a horror thriller, I believe, is what it is. And then in September, the prompt is Fire and Smoke. I have picked a fantasy, I believe, for that one that has a candle. And so there's a fire flame on the cover for that one. So, but I can't read the August book until I have read this book. And then I'm putting in, like in between books, I'm putting in a Fear Street book to go ahead and read it and then unhaul it. And then maybe like a book that I have freshly acquired for the month. So those are that. Oh, let me grab this other notebook. So I have, let's see. Oh, here we go. I do have unhauled, read, and unhaul. So for the month of January, I have hauled 14 books. So far, with it being February 14th, I've only read 3 of those books. In 2 of them, I have read in January, and I've written down the titles so I can go back and say I have read this one. One of them I did read in February. And so far for the month of February, or I've actually read 18 books in January. Anyway, for the month of February, I have hauled 5 books, I believe, so far. And I have not read any of those ones. So anyway, that's something I'm trying to keep track of as well, just for funsies. So my priority is other people have created all these readathons and I'm wanting to read those. And then it just depends on how I am feeling and all of that with my reading and stuff. So let me show you as far as crocheting what I'm working on. I was doing, I called this a scrap blanket. So I was doing, like, I have a bunch of woobles still to do. So this is one of them, and I'll show this again in a minute. So any leftover yarn from the woobles I have put into a blanket. This was going to be extremely heavy, like difficult to lift. So I've stopped adding them to this, and I'm actually picking it out and using these as separator things for another blanket I am working on. I've done a scrap blanket where it's not just the wooble yarn, it's other yarn. So it's not going to be nearly as heavy. I've done one for my grandpa that is still living. Out of all my grandparents, I only have one grandparent still living, so I've done one for him. I've done one for one of my uncles, and now I am working on a 3rd scrap blanket. So this is what it looks like so far. So I'm working on this one for one of my other uncles, and then when this one's done, then I will do one for his wife, and then I will do one for another one of my uncles, and then, or my aunt, one of my aunts, and then her husband, and then one of my other aunts, and then I'll start doing stuff for my other side of the family. So working on those. As far as the woobles, so what I do is I take a current project, and then whatever yarn I have left over from that project, I add to the scrap blanket. And then when I've added all the yarn, leftover yarn from that project, then I add on a string from one of my woobles. So the current, now sometimes there's going to be sections where there's probably going to be like 8 wooble yarns left over. I am working on, let me show you what I've done. Some for one of my aunts that lives in Colorado. She loves plants. And so I have done this wooble plant for her. This does come out of the little pot. So I've done this for her. One of the ones that it came with it was a lizard or a gecko lizard. And then I have this itty bitty sprout and a shovel, itty bitty shovel. So I've done these ones. The other full kits I have is a little tiny watering can and a tiny plant hanger. So I still have to do these ones. And I have picked 3 random yarns to kind of do in between each project to add to the scrap blanket for my uncle. And then the other, I have 2 more full, not tiny kits, but for my one aunt that lives in the bigger town in Colorado, I have a Rosie the String of Pearls plant to make for her, as well as Anna the Sunflower. And then once those are done, then I will ship those off to my one aunt, and then I will pick another project to do. So I don't know when the scrap blanket for my uncle will get done. It just depends on projects as they come in, whether through my Etsy shop or other ones that I do for family or those people that I care about. So moving forward on my channel, it'll be mostly wrap-ups. Yeah. I will, again, as I said, I will try to do vlogs. It just depends. So, all right. I've been sitting here chit-chatting for at least 30 minutes. Let me get my bag of notebooks out of the way. And let's go ahead and tell you what books I read for the month of January. I'm not going to go into star ratings because I did not keep track. I mean, I kept track for the stats, but I didn't keep track as far as which book got a 3-star or 4-star. Just know that nothing got less than a 3-star. There will be some that I will say I do recall rating this one a 5-star. So Just know that nothing got less than a 3-star. There are some books in here I will be unhauling to a little free library or a thrift store, and that will make sense, and I'll tell you which ones they are. There's, I think, 1 or 2 of them in here that I'll be unhauling. Probably just 1. Anyway, okay. And I believe these are in order that I've read them. The one that is not, I will do that one right now, which is an ebook. I read, it's by P. Djeli Clark, something Cairo. Let me pull it up. That one I know I did not rate because when I read it, I was not doing the best physically and mentally. I really enjoyed the writing, so it would have gotten at least a 3-star, but I think if I had read it at a better time, it would have been like a 4-star or a 5-star for me. But I did not rate it because mentally and physically I just was not present enough, but I really enjoyed the writing that I'm going to continue the series. I'm pulling it up on Goodreads. It is A Dead Djinn of Cairo by P. Djeli Clark. I'm sure I said that. Djeli. I'm sure I said that wrong. But it's part of the Dead Djinn universe. So the official book number 1. So this A Dead Djinn in Cairo is like a prequel novella. It was around 30 pages, give or take. I think 38 or 28 pages. But steampunk fantasy, I believe is what it was. Let me go to the tags. Yeah, fantasy steampunk. Historical type thing. I really enjoyed the writing. There is another prequel novella to the first book. There's nothing after book number 1. So there's a couple of prequels to book number 1, and then it's book number 1. So I don't know if it was originally going to be a series or originally going to be a standalone, but there's some prequels. And book number 1, the official book number 1, was part of the year-long readathons, one of their monthly book clubs. But I wanted to read one of the prequels first. So I read that one. I don't remember when in this stack of physical books I read it because I don't have a copy of that other than on my Kindle. You cannot have the yarn, baby. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, physical books. I read After the Snap by Candace Keyes. This one came from the Romance Reveal book box. So this one is signed by the author. I don't know if I will be doing unboxings, at least for right now until I have moved. I don't know if those will happen right now. As of right now, I just need to unbox them, get things put away, and decide what I'm keeping and what I'm not. So right now, that's a low priority. I love doing the unboxings, so I'm planning on picking those up later, but it won't be until I'm actually moved and settled into Colorado. Anyway, After the Snap by Candace Keyes, I have highlighted a couple of things. This is a friends to lovers romance story, okay? And this is an adult novel. It takes place in, it's a sports romance. He is in football. She is in like marketing or something like that. And they both have troubled pasts. So they both have trouble communicating how they're really feeling. And then it comes to the point where it's kind of like miscommunication where she has wanted to be more than friends and he's been oblivious and kind of been more of a sleep around type of a guy, and she's wanted to be more than friends. And now that has told, like on, I think it was like a drunken night, has expressed how she's really been feeling, that's woken him up, and now he's trying to save the friendship. And so now it's a fake dating friends to lovers trope. It was fun. I had a good time with this. It was really cute. Steamy, yes, but also very sweet. So I enjoyed that one. The next one I read, this one's a young adult, and this one was Lock the Doors. This is a young adult horror by Vincent Ralph. So for this one, we have someone that has moved into a new home with his mom. Trigger warning for domestic abuse, so spousal abuse, physical is talked about, emotional. Obviously, if you're seeing your parent get beat up by another parent, that's going to be an emotional abusive toll on you. That is a big component of this. Another big trigger warning is death of a child and missing child. So a little harder as far as subject matter goes. This is one I have learned with, I do enjoy the young adult. I tend to enjoy the thrillers over the horrors, whether it's adult or young adult. I enjoy thriller over horror. I still enjoy the horror, but usually it does not get more than a 3-star. It's rare that it gets more than a 3-star from me. just because I want it to go darker and more gory and more creepy and more, you know, whatever it is. When it's young adult, I don't expect it to go to the level that an adult book can, because of the target audience. So I don't ever expect it to, but I can still have a good time. And I did have a good time with this. So Lock the Doors by Vincent Ralph. Told from the perspective, half of it is pretty much told from the one teenager's perspective who has moved into this new house with his mom, stepdad, and a step sibling, and he's seeing these marks that he thought were indicative of locks that were in the doors to lock people inside of rooms. So he thinks something sinister happened in the house that he moved into. And then he meets this new girl at his school, and about halfway through the book it switches to her POV and kind of goes over her past. And then the two POVs kind of converge, and then we're ending with his POV again, and the resolution of it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next, I read a young adult romance, and this one is this is Christmas by Tracy and Andreen. Language is a little bit rougher in this, so do be aware it's a little bit rougher than I'm used to with young adult romances, but you definitely do not have Spicer's theme in this. She is at a private boarding school, as is he. This is more like a grumpy sunshine, enemies to lovers, young adult romance. She goes back during Christmas break. This takes place over the month of December. She goes back to her small town in, I believe it was Oklahoma, and her family owns this little kind of like bed and breakfast, and he actually shows up there with his grandma from England it's a town called Christmas as well, looking for this grand Christmas experience and finding that a certain website was misleading and not too happy about that. And so it's a romance between these two that knew each other in school, and he is with his grandma at this bed and breakfast that her family owns. A hair on my tongue, there we go. He's not too happy that the website was misleading, and she's trying to make up for it. And things start to happen. This does have a female-female relationship that you kind of start to see grow stronger throughout this thread with one of the major side characters. And stop trying to eat the yarn, Molly. So this does have some LGBT rep, and specifically with someone who is coming to terms with trying to come to terms with, because one of the characters is older and was at a time where it was very much you do not say anything without fear of being ridiculed. I mean, you still have that today with people of the LGBT community, unfortunately. It's, as far as my understanding goes, because I am not LGBT, but my understanding with trying to support the LGBT community is that it still happens of being disowned, of ridiculed, and all of that, and it's not 100% always safe for people trying to say they are gay or lesbian or trans or non-binary or whatever, however it is that they identify. But it was worse when this one character was a youth. So it was worse like 30 years ago than it is today. It's still not great, still room for a lot of improvement, but it was worse. So it is better. We're making progress. There are some steps back on occasion, unfortunately. That sucks, and I'm sorry for everyone that has to go through that. You shouldn't have to have fear of being who you are, in my opinion. I don't care how you identify. You should not have to live in fear and of being disowned, of ridiculed, of bullied, or anything like that. No matter how you look, how you identify, or anything like that. That should not be a thing, and it sucks that it is a thing. From what I've read in historical and in historical fiction and nonfiction books, the few that I have read, the racism and homophobia and all of that was worse 20, 30 years ago compared to it is now. Same thing with like fat phobia and stuff, but still room for improvement, still a lot of room for improvement, but we're still at least a little bit better. So there's hope to continue to move forward where things are better. No one should live in fear. Anyway, I'm just saying I love this, and I love the LGBT and someone finally being comfortable with saying, yes, I am a lesbian in this book. So, and that realizing that the people around her don't care and love her for who she is, whether or not she's a lesbian. They don't care. They just want her to be happy and find the love that she deserves. And I loved that aspect of it. Okay. The next physical book I read was a Fear Street book. So this one will go to a little free library. This one was First Date by R.L. Stine. This one I think I read at one point or started to read and then DNF'd it. Anyway, I finally finished it. These are just hitting at a 3-star mark for me right now. enjoyment wise, they're just not what they used to be for me. I'm still enjoying the reads, but not, the nostalgia isn't as strong as it was. I'm very grateful to the series, as I have said, because they got me into reading and developing my own tastes. So for this one, we're following Chelsea. She is plus size in this world. Again, this is the early 90s. This one was published originally in 1992. So plus size in 1992, to the point that she does get ridiculed a little bit from her mom. So you do have a little bit of fat phobia and emotional trauma there. And that seems to be an occurring theme when people are more on the plus size. You do have that fat phobia comments in these books. I've read other books from the 90s that don't have that, or they're not as prevalent. I think they're in there just because it's a horror, which it doesn't need to be. But anyway, that's a whole nother can of worms. But yeah, so this will go to a little free library, so that hopefully this will start helping someone else develop their tastes. And maybe someone can read this with their parents and go, this was not acceptable back then, but it was more common. But we don't talk like that anymore, and we shouldn't have talked about that, and kind of have that discussion so that people aren't as mean when they grow up. I did read a nonfiction book. I read The Art of Making Memories. This one was from Meik, Wiking. I have underlined a couple of things. I listened to the audiobook. The thing with these is they are narrated by Meik, Wiking, so they are narrated by the author. These are these books by Meik, Wiking. I've read 3 of these. I think there's either I've read all 3 or there's one more. I don't remember, but I have given all of Meik's a 5-star. I've thoroughly enjoyed them. There's great tips on how to just have more of a life of optimism versus pessimism. Being more relaxed versus more go, which can affect your mood, whether for better or for worse. And so these have been really fun, and I will hold on to these ones so that I can go back and read certain sections and things that I have underlined and stuff. So I do enjoy those ones. So I do recommend those ones. They are also kind of considered self-help, but they are definitely nonfiction. Another nonfiction, I have read 3 nonfiction this month. Wow, look at me go. One nonfiction that I read was the start of a series. This is a nonfiction graphic novel. This is the one that was one of the ones that was translated from French. This is written by someone who born in Iran and having to grow up and watching things with like the Taliban and the whole civil unrest there. And so it's her story. And so I read Persepolis. I gave this one 5 stars. I thought it was very great. I could see a lot of things like with the civil unrest and the corruption and things like that in Iran when this author was a child. I can see that going on now in America. A lot of similarities. Things aren't exactly the same, of course, but I can see a lot of similarities in certain aspects. And so I related a lot to this as far as what's going on in the world and seeing a lot of the corruption and things hit the fan. But this was great. So, and it was a graphic novel. So I ended up giving this one 5 stars. Again, translated from French. She grew up or was born in Iran, grew up in Tram, where she studied French before leaving for Vienna and then going to Strasbourg to study illustration. So she's been around, but it is translated from French. So Persepolis, and this is actually there's 4 books in this series, and I don't remember the exact term, so it's not a trilogy, but it's one advanced from that. This book, Persepolis, The Story of a Childhood, this edition is 2 of those bound up in one. So technically I've read 2 in that series, but it's the bind up of the one. The next book was translated from Portuguese, and I read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I'm sure I said that wrong. This one is a story of journey. He's traveling to find this guy's treasure. This I would classify as religious text. There's a lot, not necessarily Christian. There are references to, I believe, the Quran, if I remember correctly, but there is a lot of stuff that, as someone who does identify as a Christian, I was able to pick up on and see those are things that I believe as well. So I would classify this as a religious text as well. So I don't remember if this one's a banned book or not. I kind of want to, I don't remember. But one thing, if you're looking for banned books, Fear Street, there are some specific Fear Street books that will have been banned, but the series in whole has been challenged and banned at points in certain schools and states because of the level of fear and how terrifying they are. So that series has been challenged, and certain books in it has. Anyway, so The Alchemist. This one I actually really liked, and so I am going to be on the hunt for another book from this author. I really liked the writing and look forward to seeing what else this author has written and enjoying that as well. So this was, again, translated from Portuguese, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The next book I read is Persepolis 2. So this is the last 2 books bind up of the 2 books in that series. So again, this is a nonfiction graphic novel. Thoroughly enjoyed this. So the first one, let me grab it. This is following basically from early childhood to preteen, and then from teen to adulthood. Okay, so this is all 4. So it's a book of 4 graphic novel nonfiction, but bind up of books 1 and 2, bind up of books 3 and 4. So again, childhood through preteen, teenager through adulthood, and knowing what's going on in your hometown, being sent away, seeing what's going on in your home country, wanting to be with those that you love, but at the same time realizing that people want to keep you safe and all of that, and challenging and going to protests. There are protests in these books and things like that. So again, correlations with what's going on in America and throughout the world right now, but could definitely see that. Next up, I read a cozy mystery. This got a 5-star. Every book of this series has gotten a 5-star, and I am assuming every book throughout this series will continue to get a 5-star. I have read book number 7 in a Kitchen Witch mystery series. This is written by Lynn Cahoon, and this one is 7 Secret Spellcasters. So this takes place in a small town in Idaho. It is a cozy mystery, modern times, but with fantastical elements. So you have witches, you have werewolves, you have elf. There's an elf in this one. You have dragons, because there is a dragon there. You have a wolfhound. In one of the previous books, it talks about werewolves. So you do have fantastical creatures in this. So this is modern times, but with fantastical elements. The main character, Mia, I wanted to say Kia, and I'm like, no, that's a car. Mia has a catering business. She's opened this old high school that was abandoned in this small town, has converted it to this place that she lives, and also where her catering business and catering school is. And things like that. This does have autism rep. You do learn either in the prequel novella to this whole series or in book number 1. I don't remember which one you learn it, but one of the main side characters is named Christina, and she is actually on the autism spectrum. So you do have that. And knowing, if you read from that book on, like from the prequel novella on, at the very least, you do learn that right from then, and you do know, and she is aware that she's in there. There's also talk in this one of people in this town who you think are 100% human, but finding out they actually have some dormant magical abilities, that certain things are starting to happen where their magical abilities might be starting to awaken. So that was cool. Easy 5 stars for me. I love that series. Okay, next I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is, I don't remember if this is adult or young adult. Either way, this is a mythological retelling of Achilles. We've heard of Achilles' Hill, where that's like the one weak spot. For this one, we're following Achilles. We actually start from the POV of this other person. I don't remember his name. Achilles. King Persepolis. Patroclus, I believe, is the guy's name. Anyway, it's a love story between Patroclus and Achilles. So this is a male-male romance love story. You have this Achilles' mother, who is this mythological goddess, and there's talk about prophecies and things like that. And I had a great time. This is the second book I've read by Madeline Miller, and honestly, I enjoyed Circe a little bit more than this one. Circe is also a retelling, LGBT retelling, and I actually enjoyed Circe just a little bit more than The Song of Achilles, but I still really enjoyed this one. But between the two, if I had to pick one for a book club and say this is the one I want to reread, it would be Circe, would be the one that I would reach for first. So I did enjoy Circe just a little bit more than this one, but I still had a great time with this one. And I thought the story was really sweet. You have sacrificial love, and things like that. And I actually started to tear up at the end. It got me a little teary-eyed at the end. Okay, so on the last little bit, so I have just this much left to show you real quick. The next, I read an adult romance, and this one is Just My Type by Falon Ballard. This is an enemies to lovers. They actually, so Lana and Seth, they it's enemies to lovers, but it's also a second chance. So they used to be lovers, like back in high school, broke up and kind of became enemies, but then he takes a job and it's kind of like, well, whoever has the best article out of this certain amount of time is going to get this position. So both of their jobs are kind of on the line. And so they're enemies kind of at this point, but then it's an enemies to lovers. So it's a second chance enemies to lovers. It was really cute. There is a little bit of spice in this, but definitely not at the level of some of these other books. Like After the Snap, the first book that I showed in this video, nowhere near the level of spice as that one. This one's a lot more tame to that one. But this was really cute, and they have to challenge each other. So like she makes a list of things that he can do, like actually set up a dating profile, and he's don't commit to a relationship, actually have a one-night stand, or that's one goal that she has for herself. And they're competing for a position, and then it's just a budding romance between them. So this was really cute. Really enjoyed this one. This author does have other books out, and I will be definitely picking up more of this author's work. It was that much of a fun, giggly time for me. Lease on Love, I believe I have ordered. So anyway, next up I have a middle grade, and this one is The Girl in the Walls. This is written in verse, so it is poetry, but it's a novel told in poetry format. I thoroughly loved this one. This one, the main character is on the autism spectrum. You do get the hint that there's another older character in this that might be undiagnosed autistic, but we don't know for sure. One thing I have underlined in this is pain makes us do strange things. This is written by Meik in Kuyatt. This is the second book from this author, also told in verse, where the main character that we're following in this is on the autism spectrum. I believe Meik is as well. And this one has more paranormal. What is her name? V has been sent to her grandma Jojo's house. Her parents are going to do something, so she's been sent to her grandma's house to spend the summer. V doesn't want to be there. She is uncomfortable around her grandma Jojo because she doesn't understand her, and she thinks her grandma doesn't tolerate or understand her with being different and being autistic. So you have a little bit of talk of that. And then V thinks she's starting to hear someone in the walls, realizes there's this potential ghost in the walls, communication and things that have been suppressed start to come to the surface. This was beautifully written in verse, and this is going to automatically, even after reading the first one, I thought I'm definitely picking up the next book. This book is confirmed. This Meik is an auto-buy author for me, especially these. If she ever ventures into, I would like to see Meik venture into young adult or adult, but any book she has coming out forward, I will definitely auto-buy author for me. Thoroughly enjoyed that. So really enjoyed that one. And then I picked up the next prequel novella in I don't remember the name of the series. What is the name of this series? Does it say? No. I don't remember the name of the series, but this one is, so it was The Dead Djinn in Cairo. This is the novella following that one. And this one takes place before the first book. So this one is The Haunting of Tram Car 015. I loved this one. This one takes place, I believe it was Africa or Egypt. One of the two. I don't remember what town in Africa. I think, isn't Egypt a town in Africa? I suck at geography. I really suck at geography. Anyway, thoroughly enjoyed this one. You have a lot of like the African or Egyptian type mythology when it comes to their gods and goddesses. Steampunk, because you do have like copy machines that are created to be more AI. So you do have advancement in that. And this tram car is haunted. There seems to be a pattern to the haunting, but they haven't picked up on it. You do have these paranormal investigators who are coming to investigate why this tram car is haunted. They start to see the pattern to the hauntings and what type of victims the tram car is seeking out, or the entity in the tram car is seeking out, and trying to figure out what they can do to stop said entity from hurting anyone. So yeah, this was great. This just confirmed to me, like I knew I loved the writing in the novella The Dead Djinn in Cairo. I loved the writing in that one. Loved the writing in this one. So again, this author is now an auto buy for me. So whenever I find a book from this author when I'm out book shopping, I will be picking it up. I do have the first official book in this series. I don't know if it was supposed to be a standalone and then it was the prequel novellas or what, but I do have the full-length novel ready to go on my shelf. All right, next up, another adult romance. I read Don't Marry Him by J. Sterling. There's 12 books in this. This is part of a series. This one is technically book number 6. However, these are standalones. I don't know if they're interconnected, but they are all kind of the same theme. These are all adult romances centered around certain holidays or seasons. So January was centered around New Year's. February was centered around Valentine's. March will have been centered around St. Patrick's Day. April around April Fool's Day, and then there's a spring one. There's one that's for fall, there's one specifically for Halloween, one for Thanksgiving, one for Christmas. This one was just spring. Spring is wedding season. So you do have a forced marriage of convenience in this one, that they don't want it to happen. There are secrets and potential corruption or thought of corruption. Think mob boss. You do have some mafia or mob type connections in this particular story. I'm finding I really like that in romance. The mob and mafia, I like that in romance. So yeah. You do have some of the touch her and die type tropes. So if you like that, you might like this. But yeah, so this one was a forced into marriage for convenience the other one was due to one to prevent like something from happening from a family member, and one as the other as an act of revenge. So keep that in mind. That was fun. I had a good time. Next up was an adult thriller, and I read Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. I'm guessing is how that is said. Could be wrong on that. The author wrote The Good Girl and Local Woman Missing. I do have another book from this author somewhere on one of my bookcases that I will be picking up. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. This gal goes for a run and thinks she killed someone, so she's dealing with a little bit of PTSD due to attempted sexual assault or attempted rape. So there is a lot of references to that and how she felt during that. And now not only is she dealing with the fact that this guy tried to sexually assault her, but the fact that she may have killed him. And then you have the story of this coworker that she has, who's this friend. This friend's husband has gone missing, and dealing with trying to find and figure out what happened to her missing husband, and realizing that people have secrets. Even though you think you're close to them, they have secrets. And people are not always who they seem to be. People have secrets and skeletons in closets. So that's all I'm going to say for that. Because it's a thriller. You need to find all that on your own. Then I read another adult romance. This is more of a Regency type romance. It does get a little steamy. But this is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. This is Puck and Prejudice, written by Leah Riley. So if you're looking for a Pride and Prejudice retelling, Puck and Prejudice by Leah Riley could be one. This is a time travel one. He is driving home, there's something happens, and it shoots him back into the Regency time. So she's from Regency, he's from modern times. He has to learn her custom and way of life, and it's a romance between the two. And he's wanting to get back to home, but then he's also not wanting to leave her, and she wants to help him get back to home, but she's not wanting him to leave. It's a romance between the two, so. And of course, with him being from the future, he can't reveal certain things about the future to her to try to prevent things from changing quite so much. But yeah, this was really cool. I love this one. This had me kicking my feet and giggling at points. So I had some comedic elements. Next, oh my gosh, I loved this book. The next book that I have read, next to last book that I've read for the month of January, is Futility. This is told in third person. This does get gory, and this is set in Africa. At one point, one of the characters that we're following does go to England for a revenge type situation. You do have, I think there's a glossary in this where, isn't there a glossary? Yes, there is a glossary of African words or terminologies that are used, like abi, which is an expression to confirm or emphasize a sentence, usually contemptuous in connotation. Bubu, a flowing kaftan for females made mostly with African prints. Cheche, an exclamation of surprise, frustration, anger, or happiness. So you do have a lot of African terminology throughout this book, words that you definitely don't hear just randomly on the street here in America. At least I don't hear them. I love it when books integrate, when they're set in a certain country, when they integrate. Like if it was set in France, I would love to see French words in there. This is set in Africa, there are African words. I love it when books do that. And then especially when they have a glossary so I can see what the words mean. But if I try to figure it out from the context of the word in the sentence, which I did figure out most of them. But anyway, so this is gory. It is a horror. This does have fantastical elements as far as like this demon and people making wishes. Think of the demon more like an evil genie. And granting wishes, but twisting your words so it suits this evil entity. Even though you're getting what you ultimately want, it's twisted in a way to where you don't really want what you want. Type of a thing. And think forced cannibalism. Yes, you do have references to cannibalism in this. I mean, it's right there on the cover. Okay. You also have references to pedophilia in this book. And let's just say there is some sweet revenge that I'm sure a lot of people would like to happen to a lot of the pedophilias that are being exposed right now throughout the world, especially here in America. A lot of people would like to see what happened to the pedophiles and rapists and sexual assault men in this book. They would like to see happen to a lot of the men to modern times. I'm sure a lot of people would like that. Anyway, the last book that I read for January is an adult thriller, and it is You Belong Here. It does have Don't, but the title is You Belong Here. This is by Megan Miranda. We're following this main character as she sees her 18-year-old daughter go to this university. This is the same university that this character went to. What is the character's name? Beckett. She went to this university and her child is now going there, but she doesn't really want her child to go there. But her child's accepted and wants to go there. So she's letting her child go and make her own mistakes and stuff. But then there's this thing that happens. This is in a small town. There's this hazing type of tradition called the howling. I'm not going to go into it. You need to figure it out when you read this. And in this particular book, the last time the howling happened, someone went missing to the point that they are assumed dead, and now they're thinking the same thing's about to happen, but to someone the main character cares about, needs to go find this person and try to stop whatever might potentially happen. And then secrets start to come to life and be revealed of the past. The things that you thought occurred in the past may not have actually happened, and things that you never even thought of are actually what happened. So, of course, with a thriller, there are twists. Go in and find them on your own. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Another author I will be picking up more books from. So, out of all of those books that I read, only one will be unhauled just to help keep up space. For example, I can get rid of 2 or 3 of these Fear Street books and have one more book from Megan Miranda on my shelf. So, and I will definitely be rereading this. And I will reach to reread this more often than I will reach to reread a Fear Street book more often. So I want one, so I'm going to reach for more than not. So that's why I'm getting rid of the Fear Street books. It breaks my heart because of the nostalgia, but I want more space for books I'm going to reach for and pick up more frequently. So those are the books that I have read. One will be unhauled, and the rest will go in a stack to be packed and moved to Colorado. So let me know any of your thoughts that you've had while watching this. If you've read any of these books, do you agree with them being a good book, or did you absolutely hate the book? Definitely let me know. Don't spoil things for other people. Thank you for your patience as I try to just film when I physically am feeling up to it, and emotionally and mentally. And then, of course, with moving, who knows? So again, I can't commit, and I do apologize for not having a committed filming and uploading schedule. And thank you for your patience in the meantime. I hope you still enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have some enjoyable reads. So until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I will talk to you later.